Hello. Now we are going to look at integer numbers and how to add and subtract them. So integer numbers are whole numbers that include zero and negative numbers. And we're going to look at first at where we've already seen zero and negative numbers, because we all know our positive whole numbers, they would be our natural numbers. Now we're going to include the number zero and minus numbers or negative numbers. Well, as this picture might indicate to you, where we've seen this before is in temperature. If we think about this number line as being a thermometer, this would mean we had 8 degrees Celsius, and then this would be minus 8 degrees Celsius, and we'd have 0 would be freezing. So that's where we've already seen this idea, and it can help us to link in to what we already know. So if we want to think about numbers on our thermometer, temperatures on our thermometer, we can say the warmer the number, from a size point of view, we would say the bigger the number. So connecting our thermometer to what we're now going to talk about, the higher up we are on our thermometer, the bigger we would say the number is. And the lower we go down, the colder we would go, the smaller the number would be. So if we wanted to compare some numbers here, we can use the less than or greater than signs to talk about our numbers. These are relational tools, so the smaller number would be on the left-hand side, the bigger on the right. So the smaller part of the symbol points towards the smaller number, the bigger part of the symbol towards the bigger number. So would we have greater than or less than between the relationship between the size of 9 units and 4 units? Well, we would say the 9 was bigger, so the bigger part of the symbol would face towards the 9 units. Now if we take minus 9 and 4, what's the size relationship there? Well, we're used to 9 being bigger than 4, but because minus 9 degrees would be colder, it would be just down below 8 here, we would say that we have minus 9 would be smaller than 4 degrees. The lower we go down in our temperature, the smaller the number is. So minus 9 is smaller than minus 4. What about minus 9 and minus 4? Well, minus 9 is very cold and minus 4 is pretty cold. Minus 4 is bigger than minus 9 because it is warmer than minus 9. They're both negative numbers, but minus 4 is higher up, so it would be bigger. Now we're going to look at some sums involving our negative numbers. So we start off and we have 12 minus 3. This is a sum that we actually already know how to do. We're going to use the number line to help us get a feel for how our adding and subtracting numbers that can be negative work. So as we're working through this, we want to have a number line with us so that we can look at it and say, how am I moving? Am I getting warmer? Am I getting colder? So I have 12 minus 3, so I'm starting at 12 and I am going to get colder by 3 units. If I take away 3, that means I'm going to go down. I'm going to get colder, I'm going to get smaller by 3. So I'm going to go 12, 11, 10, and then down to 9. So I've gone down 3 places. I've gotten colder 3 places, and I end up going down to 9. So that's how we can use our number line to tell the story of what it is we are calculating. So if we have minus 6 plus 4, that means we are starting at minus 6, and we are going to add on 4. What does that do? That means we're going to get warmer, we're going to get bigger by 4 units. So we start at minus 6 on our number line, and we are going to get warmer by 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that brings us to minus 2. So we've gone up 4 units to minus 2. What happens if we have 5 minus 7? So now we want to have 5 minus 7, so we start at 5 and we are going to get colder by 7 units. We're subtracting 7 away from 5, we're going to get colder by 7 units. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brings us to 0, 6, 7 brings us down to minus 2. So we have gone down 7 places down to -2. Then we have -8 plus 6. So we start at -8. And we are going to say I'm getting warmer by 6 units. Start at -8 and get warmer. So I go up warmer by 6 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I end up at -2. Then I am going to take a sum here. I'm going to have to do in 2 parts. So if I have more than 2 things, I'm going to generally work from left to right, but any order is actually fine. So I could say start at -3 and add 4, or I could start with start at +4 and -1. Either will work so long as we are careful about how we read it. Either is fine. But what we're going to do is, in our case, we're going to read left to right. So we start at -3. Sorry, we start at -3. And we add 4. That means we'll get warmer by 4. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 brings us up to 1. So the next line is going to be 1. That's -3 plus 4 gives us 1. And the -1 hasn't gone anywhere, so we write it again. And then we go starting at 1 and -1. So that means we're going to start at 1 and we're going to get colder by 1. So we end up at 0. And we can do the same for our next sum. We have 2 minus 8 minus 3. So again, we could start at -8 and we could get colder by 3 units. That would be fine. We're going to tend to read left to right. But so long as we are careful, we get exactly the same answer. So we have 2 units and we are going to get colder by 8 units. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down to -6. So when we've added those two together or subtract them, we end up at -6 minus 3. The -3 hasn't gone anywhere, so we rewrite it unchanged. Our -6 is coming from having 2 units minus 8 units. So the structure we're using is really important. Then from there, we are going to get colder again by 3 units. So we're at -6 and we get colder again by 3 units and we go down to -9. And finally, we are starting at -10 and we get colder by 3 and then warmer by 7. So we do this step by step. Start at -10, get colder. We're subtracting, so get colder 3 units. 1, 2, 3 brings us down to -13. So we write -13 plus 7. This becomes -13. That's our total number of units for that sum. And then we are going to add on 7. Well, what does that do? It means we get warmer by 7 units. So we start at -13 and we add 7. We get warmer by 7 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we end up at -6 for our temperature or for our final number of units. So that's how we can think about our negative numbers as temperatures and how we can do our calculations using our number line. And it's important as we begin that we use the number line heavily so that we can start to picture what happens, particularly when we have to cross 0. It's really important that we can picture ourselves going down to freezing, going down to 0, and then continuing on by a particular amount. And the number line is really helpful for doing that. By physically writing out the number line and using it repeatedly, we can visualize it in our heads, and then we stop needing to write it. But to begin with, we rely heavily on our number line, and that's how we get good at this. And that is what we need for now.